Suzy Wrong, Joy Drive's film, TV and theatre reviewer.
It's 5:15. You're with Em for Joy Drive. Suzy Wrong, welcome back.
So good to be with you, Em, on International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. So good.
Happy IWD.
Hey, look at that. Acronyms. You're already cooler than me already. Look, I have got to say the pressure is on because Warren's away. So my homework, I felt like I needed to really just double down, watch it twice.
Did you watch it twice?
Yes, because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to watch it for Warren and for I.
It does make a difference. Like, the repeated viewing gives you more opportunities to think about what you're going to talk about. The first time, you're just kind of trying to watch it, right?
And for this particular film, try and figure out exactly what is going on. Suzy, what did we watch this week?
In the Greenhouse, now streaming on Netflix, we meet Beth, who lives in the Jervis Bay area, 3 hours south of Sydney, with her mother, Ruth. All of Beth's siblings have left country life to work in the city, but more poignantly, Ruth's wife had died several years ago, but it seems that the family has not really come to terms with that loss. Near their big home is a mysterious greenhouse where Beth could walk through and emerge the other end into the past, when things were happier and simpler, when everyone was still here and still together. This is Sydney filmmaker Thomas Wilson White's first feature film, and it's an ambitious one. The Greenhouse is an imaginative work, but never quite lives up to its creator's vision. There are uncomfortable inconsistencies in tone all through the second half. The editing and writing seems confused in what they're trying to achieve. There's an intriguing storyline about Beth having trouble admitting to herself that she's in love with a woman, even though she was herself brought up by lesbian mothers. Unfortunately, this wasn't explored very much. In fact, many of the great ideas in the Greenhouse are never developed far enough. But the cast is excellent. Jane Watt and Camilla Arkin play the main parts, and both bring incredible depth to the film. I know all the actors from around the traps here in the Sydney theatre scene, and it's good to see them doing brilliantly on screen. How did you go with the Greenhouse?
Suzy, yeah, okay. I very much shadow your sentiments. Overall, this film gave me big play vibes. Like, I feel like I could envision it in a theatre and a minimal house set, and it would give you the same sort of feel. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it almost, like, even the way that it opens, like, you don't need to necessarily see this in an actual setting. I got really big play vibes from it.
That's interesting you should say that, because I know all these actors from the stage, and I think maybe what you're pointing out is that the film is at its best when they are doing these sort of dining table scenes.
Yeah.
When the family members are together, sort of having a chat, having a laugh, or, talking about problems that they might have. Those are when the film is at its strongest. But it is a supernatural film at the end of it. And supernatural stuff is hard to do on stage.
True.
But the supernatural stuff that the film tries to do in the greenhouse and beyond the greenhouse, with a lot of mist and fog, it kind of doesn't really work, does it?
No, because I found that space and time stuff was quite confusing, because sometimes Beth would go outside and couldn't see the past anymore, and sometimes she could, and sometimes she would have to, like, visibly go through a certain door, and sometimes, like, at the end, it was like a completely different passage, and it was so, like, spooky and cloudy, and I just didn't understand that at all. I found that very confusing.
Yeah, I think it started out quite well. It felt like quite Australian goth, which is sort of a genre of itself. Is spooky. You don't really know what's happening, but the places are familiar. And I think for the first half hour, it established those bits quite well. And then towards the end, it sort of becomes very action-packed. And everyone, we shouldn't give too many spoilers, but it just becomes really intense. And then the acting sort of takes a turn as well, because in the start, it was naturalistic, quite whimsical, quite beautiful to look at, wistful to look at. And then it sort of becomes an action-fueled film at the end. It kind of took you out of the fantasy a bit, and you kind of didn't know where you were with the story. But I guess the characters and the story, that there are some things in there that are quite interesting.
Totally. It almost felt like there was two films, like one first half and one second half. It reminded me a lot of, I think it was a Tarantino film, where it was like all, and then right at the end, it was just so gory and intense and full on. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, is that the one with George Clooney? Are you
Yes.
talking about that one?
Yes.
It suddenly becomes a scary movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I definitely got that. But certainly, yeah, as you said, I liked the exploration of Beth and how the family dealt with sexuality and her dealing with her own sexuality. I found really interesting. And as you said, I would have loved to have seen that develop more, because I did think that that was like a strong, well, you know, one of the strongest storylines, and it almost was just kind of like swept under the rug.
Yeah, and the actors are really good with that emotional stuff, you know? And that moment where Beth was being confronted by, I think, one of her brothers about not about being the closet, you know, and being ashamed of her lesbian parents. She did that so well, you know, that sort of denial of that shame. I thought that was done so well. But that's not a big part of the film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The big part of the film is all the ghosty mystery stuff, which kind of didn't do quite as well.
Suzy Rong and I are chatting about The Greenhouse, which is available on Netflix at the moment. Suzy, I'm wondering if the entire film, or at least that sort of going back into the past and the, you know, paranormal greenhouse situation, is a metaphor for sitting in your grief and how sitting in your grief can sometimes consume you.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, because she kind of was stuck, wasn't she? She was one of 4 siblings that never went anywhere. She was telling herself that she was there taking care of the widowed parent, but really she was stuck herself and she wasn't able to progress like everyone else. Because the other 3 siblings are quite happy living in Sydney, but she's sort of unable to move past that. And, you know, I think at the core of it, the story is well thought out, because she's stuck at home saying that it's because she needs to take care of her parent, but really she's stuck with her own sexuality too, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she almost created her own kind of, not cage, that's not the right word, but her own sort of boundaries, and then wasn't able to cross them. And also in that same sort of metaphor situation, there is that moment when she's in the greenhouse and she literally becomes stuck. I don't know, when she like kind of grows into the, I don't want to give too much away, but there's like that freaky bit where she's, almost being consumed by it literally.
I think we all know people, don't we? I mean, I do. I know people who are currently, you know, still having problems coming out to their family, for example, and you know, and it is a bit like that. They find a spot that they feel like they are in balance, but actually they are sinking a little bit.
Yeah.
They're sort of losing themselves a little bit. You can see it, you know, over the years. You see these people and you feel like, oh, the luster in their eyes are going a bit. And you just wish that they'll just come out and be open and honest to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, it would be remiss of us not to mention the TV show within the movie, because that was like my favorite part.
Jurisdiction.
There were these just like clips of one of the siblings' TV show that she stars in, and that was my favorite bit. I was like, I actually want to watch that TV show.
Yeah, because there was a running joke that the sibling was in Sydney doing a crappy acting job in a crappy TV series, and they kind of went out of their way to make fun of that Australian cop drama genre. Yeah,
Loved that. That was certainly my favorite part.
yeah. So there are many good bits about the film. It just kind of didn't end up where I wanted to go, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. What's our homework for next week, or my homework for next week?
It is a very rare occasion to have a gay woman and a gay man both playing leading roles in one thing. So we must talk about Joe versus Carol, the dramatized series of the famous Tiger King story, now streaming on Stan.
Wow, we're going to watch that?
Did you see Tiger King?
Yeah. I am so keen. I'm so keen. I've been seeing posters and I don't know. I never thought it, but it makes sense. And I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it.
Yeah. I'm so into the idea that Kate McKinnon and John Cameron Mitchell, who are both very loud, proud gay people taking on the lead roles. And, you know, it's just like, I can't remember the last time a thing like that happened. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Well, we'll chat then, Suzy.
Yeah, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Suzy Rong is Joy Drive's TV, theatre and arts reviewer.